All right, ready?
Let's do it.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Unsolicited Lifting Advice. My name is Sam.
My name is Manas.
Welcome again to another great week. Episode number 13.
Lucky number 13.
Yeah, it is crazy that we've been doing this for 13 weeks straight.
Yeah, that's...
I think we've talked about it before. We can both be pretty flighty. We get really into something for a little bit. And then, yeah. But this is, we've been consistent. So, 13 weeks. I'm happy with that.
13 weeks of really enjoying doing something and not realistically seeing an end in sight.
Yeah, no, this is fun. And again, we thank you all for y'all's support. Continuing to like and share and give us feedback.
It's definitely big motivation to keep going.
Yeah, it's really cool to do something people like. So, thank you. And lucky number 13, so hopefully the roof doesn't collapse. And knowing this basement,
that's about 50-50 odds.
It's not out of the realm of possibilities. So let's do a quick, just kind of check in with kind of where we're at. Again, the kind of cutting / diet or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm still not tired of my diet, which is huge for me.
Yeah.
And for everyone trying to diet, if you can't stay consistent, doesn't matter how good it lasts for 6 weeks. And again, normally by week 8, that's when I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah.
But, nah, still good. Still going good.
Yeah.
The fridge did break, so that's been a little weird. So we had to kind of, luckily we have a couple fridges we were able to throw the stuff into, so I didn't lose all my meals. But
yeah,
still going strong, still enjoying it.
Yeah. I think last time we talked about this, I was like, I was down at 148, now I've been holding steady at 150. And, well, in the past 3 days, I've lost 5 pounds, and I'm assuming that I didn't actually lose 5 pounds in 3 days. So, I mean, I know water weight's one of those things that, like, a lot of times people will just not be in a calorie deficit and be like, oh, but water weight. But also, it's a real thing. And so just, if you go a month and things haven't started changing, now we've got some red flags. But, I mean, this is just a proof of, like, the last time we did the check, and I was like, no, like, I know I'm in a calorie deficit.
Yep.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
And, well, it just clicked.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And again, scale isn't the only thing.
It's
flashback to Worth the Wait episode, what was that?
11.
11?
It's an important tool.
It's
not
a tool,
the
but
only
it's not the only
important
tool. Yeah, because
Yeah.
I'm holding right around, I was 309 this morning, but again, clothes are fitting better. I feel like when I'm walking, it feels
And it's also
lighter in
down
certain ways.
6 pounds from 2 weeks ago. So,
Yeah. So there are more factors than just the scale, which again, if you were on Jupiter, you'd be a lot heavier, and if you're on the moon, you'd be lighter. So that number doesn't mean too much. That being said, that's not a great segue. But here we go. Here's what we're talking about today. So we're talking about why to lift. So we've given you the where. And the kind of hows in the sense that we've given you some options.
Power, strong, fit body.
A little bit power, strong, fit body. And then we did the places you'll grow last week, which the kind of different places to lift. Now we'll give you the why, because you might have heard, you'd be like, okay, I know kind of what I can do, and I know where I can do it, but why am I doing it? So we're going to go over a couple different things, and hopefully give a why.
I think the really interesting thing with what we've got planned, obviously, we're going to touch on the physical benefits because there are physical benefits, and they're very important. They're worth mentioning. But that's what everyone talks about.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that along with that, we're planning on diving deep into some of the mental stuff and how just very positively can influence your relationship with yourself and your relationship with the larger world.
Yep.
That's one of those things that was never part of why I got into it. And the deeper I get into it, the more I'm seeing improvement there. And wow, is that a teaser? Let's get started.
Yeah. So I think we have to acknowledge the physical benefits, because that is, I think, like you said, that's probably why most people get into it. You're either trying to lose weight, you're trying to get stronger, whether it is for a specific fitness goal, physical goal, you play a sport or whatever. A lot of people get in there to improve their physical health, and that is obviously a big part of it. So this is now beyond the scope of question. Physical exercise is good for you. Not a lot of qualifiers needed for that statement right there.
Physical exercise improves your physical health.
Yeah, it reduces all-cause mortality, everything from chronic diseases. It can improve if you're we're not going to diagnose here, but I do know people who were told, that, hey, you're pre-diabetic, but diet and exercise, you can get this under control.
Yeah.
So again, we're not doctors, but it can help with things like diabetes in that sense. Obviously, there is the building of muscle and the strengthening of your bones. If you people can lift well into their 90s. I mean, I think everyone's seen at least one video of an elderly a man or woman in their upper 90s deadlifting more weight than you would naively assume someone of that age could deadlift and or whatever their exercise is. So it is definitely something that, like we said before, you want to get into and then be able to continue until you're in the grave.
The point is to
be
a
help you out. Yeah.
Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean, for example, if you're competing right now, that doesn't mean you have to keep competing for the rest of your life.
Yep.
There are other ways to stay involved in the iron game. And gyms are still going to be good for you in 20 years.
Yeah. And 50.
Bold statement. Come back to me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't think I will be.
Yeah. So get in the gym. I mean, resistance training is good. All forms of it, whether that's plyometrics or again you're getting weight machines through whatever it is. Like you want to get in there, you're going to improve your physical well-being. It is going to benefit you in the short, medium, and long term to be in the gym.
Yeah. I do think an interesting point that we see both in like anecdotally and in actual research is and this is a bit of a transition from the physical to the mental, the way that physical exercise alters your relationship with your own body signals. You get better about understanding when you're actually hungry versus when you're bored.
Yep. Or thirsty.
Yes. And oh my God, I now am like starting to actually learn the difference between I'm hungry and I'm thirsty.
Yeah.
Which sounds like an absurd thing to say, and I realize what that sounds like. However, I mean, you see that's literally one of the things that leads to overeating across the population. That, okay, our bodies weren't built for resources to be such readily available, and so it's very easy to misinterpret, hey, your body's asking for this, and just, okay, cool, I want that.
Yep.
And your body's temporarily satisfied, so you think that's actually what it wanted, even though it's not.
Yeah.
And so that's such a little thing, but that helps with not overeating.
Oh, yeah. And
that helps with staying properly hydrated.
Yeah.
Both of which are good. Even if you're bulking, you don't want to be overeating. You're not... and so, like, nuance, there's levels to it. So regardless of where you are and what you're trying to do with your body, those are still good things to be in touch with. And especially like, as you get better about being able to read and understand your own hunger, okay, now it's going to help you a lot with not undereating as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm trying to put on some weight. I want to eat a little more than normal, but let me not just shove everything I see in my mouth full. I mean, well beyond bear mode dirty bulk, and okay, now we're...
I'll just be the glutton.
Yeah. And not in a fun way.
That dirty bulk and glutton line is real thin.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you'd hear anecdotally for years, people saying, oh, how do I curb hunger? Well, just drink a big, tall glass of water. And I again, until, decently recently, within the last, year or 6 months or so, I just thought that was just about putting something in your stomach as like you're confusing yourself. Like you are hungry, but you're tricking yourself. But no, like
which definitely I think is part of it. It's just not the whole story.
Yeah, but like you normally are just thirsty. Like your body's like, hey, how about some of that stuff that we're mostly made out of to kind of keep the pipes lubed and
just
everything.
A little bit.
And instead of salt or whatever the craving is, you actually give your body what it needs, and then over time you kind of rewire yourself to be like, oh yeah, I know this is me being thirsty instead of me being hungry and just needing to put something in my mouth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, again, the physical stuff, that's pretty kind of cutthroat. We're going to spend the most time on that.
If you're listening to us, you probably already know that physical exercise improves physical health. And if
you don't, it does.
Yeah. And unless we were to pick a particular way that it does and spend the entire time just digging into that one aspect of it, it's probably a waste of everyone involved time, most importantly yours, for us to just keep harping on it.
Yeah. So let's move on to the mental health, improved mental health. So there's a lot of ways that being active and specifically specifically lifting improves your mental health. We have a couple here in no particular order. Let's talk about kind of mental toughness. So this is kind of all sports, any kind of organized, really activity, sport or otherwise. But when you set yourself up with a routine and say, I'm going to set out to accomplish X, whether that goal is for you, you're going to be competing in a bodybuilding show within the next 18 months. Whether for me, that's losing some weight and getting a healthier kind of body fat percentage / just kind of healthier overall physique. Or if it's, I have never worked out before and I want to get to the gym 3 times a week for a month. Whatever that is, if you set out with that goal, write it down, put it, tell a friend, whatever your process is, accomplishing that, you are going to improve your mental toughness. And everything you do past that point, you'll be able to say, hey, I just did X. Whether it was, I just competed in a show, I just lost X amount of weight, or I got to the gym 3 times a week for a month, then your next steps are going to be that much easier than if you had not accomplished it. So I have found that being consistently getting to the gym has been helpful for me in just other goal settings. Is, hey, if I can be consistent in this physical aspect, I can have some consistency in other areas.
I will say on that note, the one that I get excited about the most, just like raw energy whenever I hear about someone that I know or something I care about doing, isn't the, hey, I hit this body fat level. Hey, like these striations came out. Hey, I hit this powerlifting goal. All of which are very impressive. And to be clear, I'm not trying to take a single thing away from them. I am trying to compare these two is comparing apples to not even oranges, but like horses. The one that I get the most excited about is when people are getting into it and they're, hey, I've been going 3 days a week and I've been able to stick to it for a month, for 2 months. And I'm like, that first step. Okay, now we can start having some fun with it. Now, okay, we've got that first core habit down. Now let's talk about what your goals are. Now let's talk about where you want to go, and we can build on it. But that just foundation piece is so crucial. And that does so much for you, which even if you just hit that, you've already improved your life in a lot of ways. I just wanted to quickly shout that out.
And if you can look at people like Jocko, Cam Haines, David Goggins, when they do their, I mean, some of the, like Goggins is like very outwardly gonna, shout at you about mental toughness and help inspire you. Jocko posts his watch at 4:30 every morning. Besides, I mean, that's a testament to mental toughness. And obviously Cam Haines running his marathon a day, that's just insane.
I can't comprehend that.
So, these are some kind of well-known examples, but that's just, training your mind to get up and do it. Like waking up at 4, I'd assume he wakes up at 4:15 or 4 o'clock, whatever. And then, he's in his gym by 4:30 taking a picture of his watch. Like that's not easy if you haven't gone to the gym yet. But it's just, again, over time, he built that habit of going 3 days a week. Obviously, he was a SEAL, so it's a whole nother level of mental toughness along with that. But again, like it translates into lifting just as if you make that habit of getting into the gym 3 days a week for a month, that will then translate to the next step, whether that's 4 days a week or whether you have more specific goals past that point.
And that is a very good point where the mental toughness you get out of something like this is a skill that is not only applicable to this. The sort of like discipline that you're building and you're fostering. Like let's say you already have that in another part of your life. Now you're just expanding the amount of ways you use this. You're making that skill better. Let's say you never had this. Okay, cool. Now you're learning a new skill that'll be applicable to you in more than just the iron game. And also you're gonna get some sick anterior delts along the way, so that's always fun. That's
translates. Let's go to improve confidence. So, this can both be a function of, obviously, you can look more aesthetic. That's one of the physical benefits. Obviously, you can look better. And obviously, better is a subjective term, but in the sense of, you can be more lean, more muscular, whatever your goal is.
Your goals are.
So you can look better. But then, like, not only can there be confidence in physically, but again, overcoming a goal, overcoming a challenge you set up for yourself will 100% improve your confidence. Again, it doesn't matter how small the goal is, where you're starting at. If you set a goal and you accomplish it, you're going to go, all right, cool, I did that. Now I can do something else, and that will just continue to build. And obviously, like, it is fun to lift heavy weight, too. Like, that's cool. That's
why we do it.
Yeah, it's fun in squatting, however much weight, and getting stronger every single day. But again, it really just comes down to that, like, you set up a goal for yourself and you accomplished it. And and obviously that translates to other things, whether it's a business goal or a relationship goal or whatever it is. If you set a thing out and accomplish it, you're gonna feel better.
Yeah, it just, the things that does for your self-efficacy, which like your belief in yourself to be able to accomplish your goals, because you were able to do that. I know anecdotally, just with the experience I've been having across the last couple of months, I've been working on sustained weight loss for over a year. But I think really in the last couple of months is when it started just like popping out more. It's that paper towel theory that we always talk about, that the closer you get to the end, smaller changes make more of a visible difference. And so as I've started getting to a point of like, no, like, I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, these things now seem realistic and achievable and not some crazy pipe dream that I just came up with and am refusing to let go of.
Yeah.
As that transition begins to happen, my self-efficacy increases. My like belief that, hey, if I set out to do something, it might take over a year, it might take ages, but if I'm consistent, I will get there.
Yeah.
That belief in myself increases, which leads to, me believing in myself more. Now I'm coming across as more confident because I am more confident. That gets picked up on by the larger world.
Yeah.
People treat you nicer. Now it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because like you're coming at people with as a happier person, which means of course they're going to treat you nicer because you're treating them nicer. And then because people are treating you nicer, your confidence goes up, and that just it's a not a roller coaster. It's self-fulfilling prophecy. It's just the more that happens, the more that carries over.
It's exponential. Yeah,
Thank you. That's the word I was looking for.
Logarithmic's the opposite, I think. I haven't taken math class in almost 7 years.
No, logarithmic is different.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just gonna leave it
exponential. So you make a little, a little positive change here, and it snowballs, and again, it comes down to you. Like I said, you're just happier with yourself. Yeah. So you're not going to be as projecting your insecurities on people as much. You're going to be more just one-to-one and happier. Yeah. So people are going to be happier to be around you, and it compounds.
Also, like, this is a weird little side note. I found that as I get better at accomplishing the things I do care about, I'm a lot less needlessly competitive about the things that don't matter. Like, I've started, as the weather's been getting better, I've started including, like, pickup soccer in my goals more. Or as like, in my week more.
Yes.
Goals week, same word. And I've kind of been a lot better able to just step back and not get worked up about pickup soccer.
Yeah.
Which for the listeners that know me and know how just needlessly overcompetitive I can be, and as anyone that's ever played Monopoly with me, no, just like taking a step back and okay, like, this doesn't matter. Yeah. I'd still like to win. I'm still going to go all out. But my day isn't going to get worse if I don't win.
Yeah.
and that bit of nuance is something that didn't exist in my life before.
Yeah.
And it's only come in because, okay, now I'm doing well at, not just physical goals, but, like, now I'm doing better at the things I actually care about, which means I'm not carrying, you said it perfectly, that insecurity into things that don't matter at all. And so I'm just, okay, we're a lot better all around. fiend.
Yeah, I mean, if you give yourself an avenue to exercise your competitiveness against you, and lifting would be, against yourself, or if you're competing, it's against other people. But if you give yourself a channel for that drive, for that motivation to succeed and to accomplish, if it's in the gym and you're satisfying that by progressing your mile time or by increasing your deadlift max, you're not going to need to dominate, Randy in the soccer game. You can just have fun. Like, there's a bigger thing there that might get its own episode about
that
just
probably will get its own episode.
Kind of the mentality of it. But you have less. There's less. Also, you're just more there's a level of you're just like more tired, and you've kind of gotten that like conqueror mentality, for lack of a better word, kind of out. That just you've gotten it out of you, so now you can just like
my inner teenage angst is already being satisfied.
Exactly. Yeah.
By me
that's what loud music and heavy weights are for.
Although I've started getting called out increasingly on. Sam, you know this, where it's like, if we're not recording or anything, I'm just like chilling out. I'll bring music in the gym, probably after my compound list, when we're getting into just isolation work and whatnot. Where it's like, okay, now let's jam, let's get through it. I've been increasingly getting called out, I guess, as I increasingly share workout footage of how much I work out without headphones, and just like, okay, like, we're going for deep heavy squats with absolutely no music.
You just want to hear your heavy breath.
Yeah, we're riding off that inner pain, aren't we?
I just worked out with Aaliyah. Hi, Aaliyah. On Thursday, we did shoulders, and she was like, "Do you normally work out with that headphones?" I'm like, "No, but you're here. Like, I'm not gonna I want to talk to you. We're gonna talk and like conversate during this time." But yeah, no, I rarely lift without music. The exception has been if I've been at work before a shift. Yeah. So it's like 4:30, and the gym's empty. It's, I don't know. Like, I'll come down, just get in and just start doing it. There's no music. That's probably what it really is there's no random pop hits playing where it's just like, well, this isn't. I don't know. I'm not really feeling this. So it's just there's like a fan, whatever the air circulating thing's running, and then it's just me. If I'm in a gym, I always have something on, just so it's something like I can enjoy, which could be Hamilton. Like, I've lifted a Hamilton.
It's a good lift, honestly.
Yeah, I've listened. It's literally just anything. I just need something that I'm vibing with currently.
I've started finding, again, just isolation stuff doesn't really matter. Compounds, I've found that I tend to do better just mentally with myself, where at least for the actual lift, I might bring over your headphones, be listening to stuff, but then for the actual lift, we're taking them off or setting aside, where it's just one less thing that's competing for my head's attention, and I'm like, all we're doing is breathing in, getting braced, and go. But that's just what works for me.
Yeah, again, it one size does not fit all.
We are getting a little off topic. Shocker.
Oh, what a surprise. So we talked about... Pull up the notes here. This is so weird for me, notes. Like, it's definitely helpful.
Yeah.
For sure, especially have something so we came together we have our meetings Thursday. We're like, hey, we want to talk about it. We have a thing. I'm much more of a just... I can open my mouth and just start exhaling, and I will not stop for an hour. But this is good.
All right, so I guess next along the mental health line, just the ways that lifting can help you find a sense of community. Yeah. Some of which we've touched on in the past. Like when Jamie was on for episode 10, she talked about how she's kind of experienced with girls in the weight room and having that sense of community of you walk in and there's only two others and you just look at each other across the way. It's like, hey. We've talked about episode 7, Olympic Power Strong Fit Body. Those like kind of mini communities, but also just even outside of that. I mean, you look at. I think as humans, we tend to try to create divisions that don't really exist, or at least aren't nearly as significant as we're trying to make them. And so, for example, you put a bodybuilder and a powerlifter in the same room, or you put a natural and an enhanced athlete in the same room, and you two still have way more in common compared to the average person than you're just realistically going to acknowledge, because we tend to focus on, oh, well, what do we not have in common? And so, like, okay, well, like, hey, you lift for aesthetics and he lifts for strength. Dude, just talk about your favorite flavor of whey protein. Yeah. You can get something meaningful from each other from that conversation alone.
I've had long conversations about BCAAs with people, like what's your favorite flavor? Yeah. BPI Sports, the ice one. Oh, now I'm forgetting the color. It was blue, and I got a free sample one time, like years ago. Yeah. Out of a subscription box. I'm like, oh, this tastes good. Cool.
Oh yeah,
that's what it was.
I don't take them. I don't like them.
I've been taking BCAAs in years. Yeah. This was that was my go-to for because that's when this was college. Yeah. And I'm just consuming bodybuilding.com and all the free. I think I got it for one of or they give you like samples when you order stuff. I got them like, ooh, this tastes good.
Also, if it's free and it's there, you might as well.
It was delicious.
And it's not going to harm you.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing where I told you that one time I was getting like splitting headaches on like heavy lifts. I'm like, what is going on? And I was like going through my thing, like, what has changed? What's different? And I was taking 2 scoops of it and putting it in my gallon of water to make it taste better. Yeah. So I took out one of the scoops and it immediately went away. I'm like, oh. Yeah. And again, I really haven't taken them since then.
Okay,
that was years ago.
I'll take it back. It might harm you.
Yeah. That is anecdotal. I am not a doctor.
Yes, the way, again, we're not staring at a study while we're talking about this, because this is what this isn't our main topic for today. But the way I was just kind of looked at them was, well, like, if you're having complete proteins, and you're having as many of them as you should be anyway, and then you're kind of just spending money on flavor. And if you want to do that, sure, there's just cheaper ways to do it. Yeah. But
like your lemonade.
I love my lemonade. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, so just that sense of community, being able to, even well outside of the gym, just be able to come up to other people and talk about that.
You recognize a brand they're wearing, like, oh, that's a fitness brand.
Yes.
Hey, and you immediately talk about that. Yeah.
I also, on that note, will just talk about the incredible amount of support that you get from the gym community. I won't dig too deep into this first part because I'll save that for our body dysmorphia episode. But I recently got comfortable sharing pictures of myself with my shirt off. I'm not an out of shape person. By fitness industry standards and by how I would look myself, I wouldn't say I have abs, but they're definitely like normal. I've definitely had a lot of people like, dude, like great abs, and I'm not gonna then rant about, oh, I don't. I'm just gonna take the compliment. Thank you. I appreciate you.
That's called growth modest.
So just, hey man, like, thank you. I appreciate you. And then just move on. But even still, in my mind, while I'm having those same conversations, I'm like, I don't look good. I can't take my shirt off. And I finally got comfortable recently, like earlier this week, not at a beach, like not at something where I just happen to have my shirt off for normal reasons. Got in front of the camera, had the shirt off, and was comfortable sharing that video. And I had so many people just like chiming with like, dude, you're looking great. Dude, like, keep it up. Hey man, like, you want to do this? You got it. And I'm like, the amount of support you get. So like, okay, like, body dysmorphia and whatnot exists. And again, we'll dig into this on a real episode where we're just going to talk about that. But just that sense of community of anyone else that's looked at that sort of thing can look at you and be like, okay, like, even if you're not at your finish line, hey man, you're going for this, and you still just took a step and you start getting that huge outpour of support. And that's incredible. That was, I would have thought that that's one of those things where I'm sitting here making like my ego didn't need it jokes, but that's just straight up humbling.
That was for your soul.
Yeah, that was just like, talk about that emotional feel-good medicine from people like you've never met before. Yeah. This was on the internet. Jesus Christ. And the internet responded positively? What?
I think that most people respond in the positive to no response. I feel like if you took let's take 10 people, I think, and they saw a thing and they were given a choice, positive response, no response, negative response, I think 5 would go positive, 4 would go no response and 1 goes negative. But like
I would say even negative, less than that.
Oh yeah, so
So I agree with what you're about to say.
I'm just gonna have half a person in a 10 person
So I mean, like the video in question was like, I think 400 or 500 something comments. I only saw 2 negative comments on there. Now, first off, I can tell you exactly what the comments were.
That's the problem.
And that's the part with how our minds work.
Yeah.
But then also I was just sitting there, it's like, one, like, dude, you didn't hit me nearly as hard as my own body dysmorphia hits me, so, like, this is funny.
Yeah.
And then 2, also just like, okay, well, 2 negative comments, 300 positive ones.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Yeah,
this did good things overall to my mental health.
Yeah.
It was personal growth, and we like that.
Personal growth is good.
And so, yeah, just tying back to that community thing, we say it all the time, guys. Gym people are friendly.
Gym people are very nice.
I swear, the friendliest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, especially if it's like a small number. When you get like a bunch of people, like groups is when you can get into...
Just like herd mentality.
Exactly. But yeah, no, I mean, on the individual level, I have never had a bad experience with someone in the gym. Obviously, I'm a guy and I'm bigger. But even still, I can't think of a time when I had like something where I was like, oh,
yeah,
that was no good. Yeah, they're nice. Yeah. We're nice people.
And supplementing that point, because I clicked on the profiles of those 2 comments. Full honesty, guys. Yeah, I looked at them and I'm like, well, your opinion's not one I'm digging in.
Yeah.
It's not like you're competing and sitting here trying to trash my thing, especially when I'm up here like, hey guys, this is the start of my cut.
Yeah.
So
we're not going to give them any more mental space.
No, and so once again, this is the internet. Mm-hmm. Who's to say this is someone has credentials behind it?
Mm-hmm.
Tying back to the point we're trying to make, anyone that is involved is either not going to say anything or come out and support.
Be positive. Yeah, I've never seen a video and been like, boo.
Yeah, no.
If I saw something I didn't like, I just stopped.
Roll on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, I don't like this. Scroll. That's all it is.
Yeah.
I did recently. I did just comment my first Instagram comment in a long time. Joe Rogan had on Matt Fraser, and I just had been waiting for this for a long time. And I was like, because that's when I had been wanting to see for so long. So yeah, if I'm going to comment, it's going to be positive. And again, it's something I've been wanting to see this in even for years.
Yeah.
And it finally came through and is excellent. Mm-hmm. I recommend everyone listen to Matthew Fraser, the 5-time in a row world's fittest man. Talk about.
Was it 5? Was it 6?
He was 5. He did 5 in a row.
Okay. Yeah,
and
he's incredible.
And it's funny. He talks about it where he was going to retire after his 4th one. He was like, okay. I mean, and he called like his his trainer and said, hey, because his trainer was like, hey man, he said he takes like a month off after a competition. Mm-hmm. His trainer called him like 2 weeks into that month, and he was like, hey man, just what's when we getting back into it? What's your goals? And he's like, no, I'm done. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then he hung up, and then like 3 minutes later, Matt got a call from like his business guy. Hey, buddy, how you feeling? He's like, you got a call from what's his name? He's like, yeah. And then he ended up his man was like, you're gonna regret it if you stop now. And he's like, why? Was like, well, the current record's 4 in a row, so we had to go back and he had to get number 5. Shout out Matthew Fraser, big fan of his. Really excited to see what he does.
Absolutely incredible.
Moving forward, but like that. I mean, he talks about how important it was to train I mean, he's just an example of how to do it right.
Yeah.
So I recommend everyone check out that interview that he had with Rogan, and just look at all the stuff that Matt talks about, because he's a model of the CrossFit and fitness community.
Yeah.
We can talk about the other kind of nuanced balance thing, because we briefly talked about dysmorphia, which again we'll get to this on episode. But like diet culture, and we thought that these were important to bring up as we're talking about improving mental health and how physical activity can improve your mental health.
Yeah.
We do need to warn that, or I guess kind of acknowledge the fact that
it can be taken too far.
Yes, if you take it to an extreme and if you let it dominate in unhealthy ways, it definitely can be bad. Because that would be the first criticism that someone would go. And again, one of the initial factors in this podcast was someone who posted something about the negative aspects of diets, and it was a point that we did not really agree with, but we gave it its due diligence, kind of went through and said, you know what, if you've seen the darker sides of the fitness industry's diet culture, then you would absolutely come out and say, this is not, like, this is terrible.
I'm going to continue to talk about how great we are for a second.
Yeah.
So, like, we looked at it from, okay, like, yes, we don't think this is a holistic thing of, like, we don't agree with your end conclusion. However, we're going to acknowledge that...
We like your work.
Well, like, every single person's coming at it from intending to do good. Every single person... You're not forming your opinion intending to harm others. Yeah. So, hey, what have you seen that led to you getting here? And okay, well, that's fine, and because you haven't seen the good side of it. You haven't seen how this can help people change their life positively. You've seen what I would argue is disordered eating. And actually, I don't even need to argue, definitionally would be disordered eating. And so, okay, like, no, it makes sense that when you've only seen people diet in very unhealthy ways, that is just what you think diets can be. And again, we'll dig deep into this one. This one definitely is getting its own episode. But yeah, it is worth acknowledging that there are levels to this. Just like we talk about, like mental toughness and discipline, and that can be a positive part of your life. You can definitely take that to a point where now it's rigid and there's no flexibility, there's no thought of sustainability, and how do we keep doing this for the rest of our lives? There are levels to this. Level C's puzzles. But yeah, that's a very good point to touch on.
And again, though, body dysmorphia and diet culture will definitely get their own episodes. But we definitely felt we needed to at least acknowledge, like, hey, there's, we need to, there's caution to be had when you're, wanting to get into the gym. There's, again, I don't think that these are the kind of things that should make you hesitate getting involved in it. Just like, no.
Just be aware of it, and being aware of it by itself already makes it less likely for you. Obviously, I mean, we've already talked about the fact that I still have some level of body dysmorphia. However, going out of my way to listen to psychologists that work specifically with physique athletes, also quick shout out, Amanda Rizzo. I love you. Please keep making content. I'll keep tuning in. But yeah, just being aware that exists and listening to it. Okay, like some of this isn't applicable to me. Other parts are, and just by knowing about it, now it's no longer applicable to me. Other parts are, and I'm okay. At least I have a little more help with what I'm continuing to deal with. But yeah, just being aware that these things do exist, and like that all automatically helps you because it has some part of you keeping an eye out for, okay, is this something I'm now going through?
Yes.
And the second that happens, okay, now I know what I need to address. And that's actually a great segue to the other part of improved mental health, just overall self-awareness. Both in creating positive and preventing negative things. We just talked a bunch about how it can help prevent negative things, but also, like we touched on, it helps with your satiety signals and your hunger signals, and those are obviously good things.
You know when something's off better, whether that's because of illness or injury, because if you're used to lifting heavy or whatever again, heavy is relative, but if you're used to lifting heavy, if you're used to that exertion, you know when something is hurting longer than it should. So I know, for example, if I skip legs for more than a week, that next week's just going to be rougher. Like, I know that next squat session, that next lunge session, I'm just going to be a little more sore for a couple more days. After that first week, though, it goes away. If I lifted and I'm having some, and this really hasn't happened again because I tried my hardest to stretch and take care of things. But if that soreness was continuing for longer than it normally does, that's when I started to go, okay, let's see do we need to stretch here? Do we need to modify maybe what I do tomorrow or the next week and dial some stuff back? But yeah, you become better at recognizing your body's signals of what's happening because you're using it more. If all you're doing is sitting, well, your body doesn't know what to tell you when your legs hurt. It's like, hey, this is the end of the world. Yeah. But once you started, repeatedly introducing yourself to stressors, your body goes, okay, I know what this is. That's fine. And then when something is really out of whack, you go, ooh, hey, this is really different. Let's keep an eyeball on that.
Great point, and I guess an example of it. There's been twice in the last week that I've had, in both of them with my left shoulder, had just like, okay, like, hey, this range of motion feels off. Once was the morning before we did an hour and a half long shoulder workout, where, okay.
Yeah, you told me. I remember this, yeah.
It's like, hey, this feels off. We're about to do this workout. Can I do it? Absolutely. Got in there, warmed up properly, and at the end of it, I'm like, this feels incredible.
I remember you literally going like, oh, my shoulder feels fine now.
Yeah.
Just had to stretch it out a little bit.
Whereas on the other hand, a couple days ago, I was fortunate enough to get my first dose of the COVID vaccine, and I just had some on-site soreness where, okay, like the next morning, the immediate next morning, because, 6 a.m., woke up and I'm like, listen, like, no, this range of motion's too compromised. It's a weird level of soreness.
Yep.
Could I push through a pull workout if I really wanted to? Maybe. Am I going to go do it right now? Absolutely not.
Yep.
And now that was a thing of like, listen, I'm just going to give this a little bit of rest. Mm-hmm. Today it feels 100% normal, like back at full functioning. I absolutely am going to go get my push workout in. But like, okay, that fine balance of like, honestly, even a year ago, I don't think I would have known the difference between the two of them. I probably would have sat out both of them.
Or the opposite, you just push through. Like, I'm just being a bitch. I need to push through.
Oh yeah, depending on the mood, it's one of the two. Whereas now it's okay. Like let's read some cues.
Yeah.
There's that like trending video that like everyone's making fun of like, oh, your body will tell you what it needs. Okay, well. Yeah,
but if you don't know what it's talking about, this might as well be speaking French.
Yeah. So just tuning in those things and becoming more aware of what can and can't I do.
Yeah.
Similarly with, okay, like, when do I actually need to go to bed right now because I'm unusually tired versus, okay, no, like, I can stay up and do some more work and it won't compromise me the next day.
Yeah.
Just like the more you start thinking about things like that. Another great one that's in the gym is as you start transitioning over to using metrics such as RPE and just
rating of perceived exertion.
Yes. So RPE, just quick 15-second overview. It's just a way of trying to numerically, empirically, I guess. Just like define how hard a set was or a workout was. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, if I'm doing dumbbell presses and I call that set an RPE 10, that means that was all out. RPE 9, I had 1 rep left, 8, 2, and so on. And okay, like, there's a lot of talk about, hey, like, beginners aren't necessarily great at judging RPE. Mm-hmm. And that's true.
Yeah.
However, I also think the more you start thinking about it, once again, it's a skill that you're developing. So the more you start consciously thinking about, oh, like, how close, like, how hard am I working right here? Mm-hmm. The better you're going to get at it. And I'm just going to cut that off there because RP, again, could be its own entire hour-long episode.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not applicable to all lifters at all points in their career.
Yeah.
But that is a tool that is sometimes applicable to some people.
Yeah.
And you're not going to become aware of it unless you're lifting. Just, how can you?
Yeah, if you're not, or like, you think of with a car, right? If you've had your car for 2 months, you're still learning the buttons, you're still, learning, you don't really know when that fuel light clicks on, if that actually means you got to get gas, if you got a couple 100 miles left.
Yeah.
But then everyone talks about it, they've had their car for years, like, oh, I know my car. Like, I know when that gas light comes on, I have 3 days left of good driving before I really need to get gas.
How perpetually is my gas tank on empty? Yeah. I've driven, I think my record is 50 miles on an empty gas tank.
I did 80 once. in
You
my
did?
RAV4. Yeah.
Ooh.
80. But yeah, because I knew that the light came on with 4 gallons left.
Yeah.
I get about 25 miles, whatever. Again, you know your car.
Yeah.
The same thing with your body. If you are just starting out training, you're not gonna really know kind of how hard you can push. If you've been training for, like, again, to bring up Matthew Fraser's interview with Rogan, like, he's been Olympic weightlifting for almost 20 years, so he is very in tune. Not only is his form literally perfect, but he is so well in tune with his body that he can perform workouts and then go, okay, I need this kind of recovery. I need to, modify my next workout session by X, that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you're just getting into training, you just don't have the data. So that's not your fault, but you don't have the data to back up what you're saying. So you need to put that time in, and then you'll be able to go, okay, I know that tomorrow I'm going to focus more on mobility, or I can crank it up. Like, hey, this felt really good. Like, this set of 5 felt great. Just add another set next week, that kind of stuff.
The place where I'm currently working on improving my self-regulation is my high carb days. So I don't remember if I've talked about this on air before, but I've switched to instead of a set amount of calories every single day, just this is what I do on weekdays, and this is what I do on weekends. Yeah. So I have my 2 high carb days. First of all, I'm loving it.
Yeah, how's your sanity? It's probably excellent.
Dude, I don't even feel like I'm dieting at all. And actually that's an entire thing of like last year I finished the cut at 1,600 calories. Are you kidding me? Exactly, a grown man eating 1,600 calories. We've seen pictures of what I looked like. It's not like I was in the final stage of the contest prep where we can turn around and maybe justify this. Far from it. This year, my low calorie days are 2,000. My high are 2,400. Yeah. And I'm losing weight faster.
Yep.
Because I'm actually sticking to what I want to. Yeah. And also, it's my second go around. We're doing.
Yeah. There's
multiple things at play.
Yeah.
But also the fact that, hey, my second time around, I'm let's look at where last year failed. Oh, I had too many unplanned breaks. Well, then let's plan in some breaks.
Yeah.
And now things are going better. Because, I'll also, when I have my breaks set in and I'm holding steady for a bit, I expect it to stay steady. So now it's not I'm still in my head doing 16 every day. Why am I not losing? Well, because you're not doing 16 consistently enough, you dummy.
Yeah.
Really fundamental things that even back then I knew better. But sometimes you turn off the objectivity when it's to you.
Yeah.
Until that's why the latter half of last year I stopped cutting and I'm eating at maintenance. I'm getting in the gym. I'm having fun, and that was the best thing I could have possibly done.
Yeah.
One, looking at the pictures, I think I had some recomp. Cool. If I had recomp at that point, that just speaks to how much needed improving about what I was doing the first half of the year.
Body recomposition, the idea of moving from mainly fat to adding some muscle mass while still retaining the same amount of weight.
Yes. The holy grail of putting on muscle and losing fat at the same time. Yeah. And so, now everything's coming together and everything's going great because I increased. Okay, how does my body actually function? What do I actually need to give it? One of the things I've started doing in the last 2 weeks or so, and has been working great so far, is instead of having my set 2 high carb days, I'll be okay, if by default, my default is still the weekend.
Yeah.
For this week, I took one of them on Tuesday, where I'm okay, what's going on, both in terms of my social life and the fact that I'm not. Actually, there's a chance I end up getting on stage this summer, which we'll talk about that. I'm not committing to it because I think it's a terrible idea. I just still want to do it. And that's the story of my life right there.
Yeah, sure. It's a terrible idea, but I still want to do it.
Oh, yeah. But for now, I'm going to stick to... I'm not getting on stage this summer. I'm not getting on stage in... That would be 3 months. Jesus Christ. Okay. But... Okay, so in that point, I should have some sort of flexibility for if something comes up and in this case, it's talking about a good friend that, with everything else going on, I haven't been able to properly spend time with in over half a year. I'm not going to pass up on that opportunity because, sorry, man, it's a Tuesday. I don't have the calories.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Okay, cool. We're doing this. This is my hard carb day.
Yeah.
I'm taking Sunday off.
So we're talking about balance again.
Or like last week I did it with, hey, like I'm just feeling a little beat. Today I'm just going to move one of the like higher carb days to today, get in some more food, go to bed an hour earlier, woke up the next day feeling on top of the world.
Yeah.
There's a long ways of skill development from what I'm talking about I'm learning to do to like what you were talking about Matt Frazier doing.
Yeah.
But it's a skill. You get better at it. Baby steps are still steps.
And you won't get better at it if you don't do it. So you got to do it to get better at it.
On that note, I will say, I recently had at Bentley's at the bar that we both worked at. One of my favorite things is our croutons.
Yeah, good croutons are hard to find.
They're so hard to find, and
Ruby Tuesdays had good
we
ones
have
too.
great croutons.
Yeah.
So what I used to do during work and what I did the last time I went, just because, hey, I missed this, I went in, took a 16-ounce cup, walked to the kitchen. Hey, can y'all possibly fill her up with croutons? And then now we're at the bar. Everyone else, I mean, I've got my beverage as well, but everyone else pounding back their beer, and I'm just sitting here like, munch, munch, munch. Someone at one point said something about, like, Monis, carbs. And I'm like, I get you're kidding. That's funny. Carbs make life worth living.
Yeah.
Don't come at me.
They're the reason we diet, so we can go to the beach and eat fried food and pizza.
Yeah. Oh, and again, balance. Like, Freedom Week, I'm not thinking about.
Oh, I'm not counting anything.
Calories are made up and do not exist for that week of the year.
Same thing at Grandma's house. At Grandma's house, calories don't mean anything.
And obviously, okay, we're kidding, guys.
Yeah.
A little bit. There's nuance. There's balancing. If we're one of the reasons why it's such a bad idea, but why I'm thinking about send it. I'm just gonna get on stage for this.
Yeah.
Okay, well it's before Freedom Week. If it was after,
Yeah.
Because especially after last year and not being able to do anything because of COVID, and hopefully with the way things are going, things are gonna be a little bit closer to normal this year. I'm like, I am not giving this up for what is literally a meaningless show.
Yeah.
This is not a show. Long term, I'm not staying in this weight division. I'm not doing this to try to like qualify for anything. This is just, hey, like before I compete for real, before I compete where it counts, I just want to get a show in.
Yeah.
I'm not giving this up for that.
Yeah.
There are other ways to get what I need to get from this without giving up what I've been looking forward to for the last year and a half.
Yeah.
Balance.
We're always going to talk about balance because it's super important.
Yes.
And again, to briefly, when you are getting on stage, you'll tighten things up. You might not have all those various switches around. You're going to have to dial it in a little bit.
For a show that matters, okay, if that's after Freedom Week, I'm going to have to keep it dialed in during Freedom Week. That's the cost of doing business.
Yeah.
This is not a show that matters.
Yes.
And that's how it goes.
Try to get into all your shows before the second week of June. Yeah.
Just going for coaching. Hey, so like, what shows do you want to compete at? Well, I need to be done by July. Like, I need my qualifiers before July. And then, by the way, we're going to have a big diet break. And then we'll just try to wrap it all together in time for September, October, and like nationals, regionals, and oh, God.
That's down the road, though. We'll cross those bridges.
That is years from now, probably.
Cross those bridges when we're coming to them.
I'm not going to stress about nationals before my first show. That's
fair.
That's what we call putting the cart
It's not only
ahead
counting
of the
your
horse.
chickens before your hats. It's kind of your chickens before you have a farm.
Yeah, it's getting a little ahead of the ball. Just guys, there's a lot of ways that lifting improves things upstairs.
Yeah.
It can go wrong, but just being aware of how it can go wrong will prevent or at the very least mitigate a lot of it. And even in that case, like I think especially when we're talking about like normal people, hey, like I want to look good. I want to be strong. I'm not necessarily looking at getting on stage anywhere or getting on a platform. Okay, at that point, now we're really talking about it should be easier done properly to avoid some of these really negative pitfalls. At least avoid the worst of it.
Yeah.
And so we can just maximize all of the positive ways that this will make your life better in and outside of the gym. Like, okay, we're going to just increase your self-esteem, increase your belief in yourself, and now you're bringing that to work, that I can take on whatever challenge you throw at me. That will make your life better in measurable ways outside of the weight on the barbell. Yeah. And also, with what's really important, it will improve the weight on the barbell.
Yeah. That is an excellent wrap-up. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Unsolicited Lifting Advice. Thank you for joining with us for another week. We appreciate your support as always. Reach out to us, everything at ULA Podcast, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, all the fun stuff. Episodes are up on Wednesday. We will see you all in the next one.